to another exciting video. Here I am in Onshape, and I've got a picture of the part I'm going to draw right here. It's part 53 from a workbook that I have. In the assignment, it's referred to as 3D Modeling Review Piece 1 on Schoology, but I'm just going to call it part 53. This is what we're going to draw, and basically what I see here, I have the dimension of a circle here. I think that's a 50, I'll look at the numbers in a minute. That's a 50 millimeter circle if memory serves. That's a 25 millimeter circle. And I think they're separated by 90 millimeters. And then we've got the same thing over here on that side. And then basically we've got half that standing up right here in the middle. So let's just get to work on that. I'm going to close this out. I've got the numbers open on a different screen. And the first thing I'm going to do is create a document and just label it appropriately, whatever works for you. I'm going to call it CAD Review Part 53. Anything that makes sense is okay with me. All right, so here it is, CAD Review Part 53. Now I'm looking at all these numbers, and I see lots of 50s and 25s, and I see a 90. Those are not inches, or if they are, this thing is ginormous, but they're not. Those aren't inches. So let's go up here. I heard somebody the other day refer to this, one of these type menus, as a hamburger menu, right? So click on the little hamburger menu up there, and let's change our workspace units to millimeters. First things first. All right, so now we're in millimeters. I'm going to draw on the top plane, and I am going to sketch on the top plane. I'm going to grab a circle, and I'm looking at the picture. The big outer circles are 50 millimeters, 50 millimeters, and I'll draw another one over here. They're definitely not in the right place. I'm just putting them down 50 millimeters, but they are both on this line here, so be sure to do that. Within those are smaller circles of diameters 25 millimeters. I'm going to draw a 25 millimeter circle here, 25. I'll do another one inside the other one, another 25er. Now, I'm looking at the picture, and there's 90 millimeters. Let me double check that. Where's my number? That's correct. These circles are 90 millimeters apart. Now, I could just dimension them to 90 right now using this tool, but the reason I'm not going to simply do that is because I really want this plane to be right in the center. And the reason for that is because we've got to draw that other piece that sticks up, that vertical piece, and it's going to be dead center. And instead of drawing a new work plane later in the geometric center of our object, let's just center our object on a work plane that already exists, right? So if these are 90 apart, well then they're both, we can achieve that by getting out of the circle tool and choosing the dimension tool. We can achieve that 90 millimeter separation and have that plane centered by just making this 45. Ooh, that was close. Look at that. 44.99. So close, but that's better. Right, this other one looks a little further out. Let's see here. Make this one 45 also. That's pretty close as well. Not as close, but that one's 45. Now I know they're 90 apart, because 45 plus 45 is 90. And they're also equally spaced from the center point here, which will help us in just a minute or three. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is grab a straight line tool and just draw a horizontal straight line that's too long. You can tell it's horizontal by the little horizontal line that shows up right underneath my cursor. See that? It's horizontal. If I go out of horizontal, that disappears. So that line is horizontal right there. It's too long, but we'll take care of that. And this one here, I want this horizontal too. Now, could I just have dragged those from here to here? Probably, but I would have no a guarantee that they'd be tangent to the circle. So let's just make sure that it's tangent by using the tangent constraint. Make that line tangent to that circle, and that line tangent to that circle. And now I know they're placed properly. Let's grab our trim tool and trim stuff out we don't need, like that, and that, and that, and that, and that. Hey, it's starting to look familiar. Okay, well let's extrude it. I'm looking at my picture, and the extrusion is 10 millimeters. So this part is 10 millimeters thick, and that should be good to go. Yes, there we go. Now, That's why I was careful to do the 45 and 45, because I didn't want this whole thing shifted left or right. I do want that right in the center, so I can draw on it with the part that's got to come up, right? So I think I'll look at the right plane now, because the part's oriented like that. I'm going to draw on that right plane. So sketch on the right plane, and let me just get my drawing to the right part up on the other screen. So that's it. Again, I've got, oh, the circles are the same. Well, that's not very surprising. Right, so it's going to go on this line, and we're going to do a 50 millimeter circle. Make sure it's right on that line. 50, bam. And I'm going to do a 25 inside of it, just like we did on the horizontal section. 25, bam. And now what we have to do is, well, we have to just put it in the right place. So let me see, how high is it? It's 50 from the very bottom, so it's 50 from here, millimeters up. So let's put it in the right spot first, boom. So from here to here should be 50. Okay, and now what I think we should do is, let's see here, we've got to draw some lines straight down. Yeah, so let's draw a line straight down. I think again I'm going to use the same technique where I just make sure I draw a vertical line. Make sure that's vertical. And same thing over here. Just make sure it's vertical. We'll trim it out and place it. The tangent tool is still lit up, so I just want this tangent to that. I want this tangent to that. And to close out the geometry and make this not an empty space, we just have to connect here to here, right? So let's do that. Let's just zoom in and put a straight line there. So let's put a straight line right about there. I think, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do the same thing again, because I don't want to eyeball it. I really don't want to eyeball it. I want this to be correct. Is it horizontal? Yes, it is. Let's put it in the right place using the dimension tool, because I know this is 10 millimeters thick, right? This base here. So where do I want that line to be that closes out this geometry? I want that to be at that same spot. So here to here, what I'm going to do is 10 millimeters. And now we're ready to trim this thing out a bit and clean it up and do our extrusion and move on, right? So again, I don't need that piece, and I don't need that piece. I don't need this semicircle here. I don't need that or that. Oh, and I don't need that for sure, or that. Now I think we're there. Yeah, we're there. So all we have to do now is extrude that. That's also 10 millimeters. And the only trick here is you don't want to extrude it only in one direction, because you want it to be centered, right? So it's going to go 5 in each direction, not 10 out that way, because then it's not centered, right? So let's just, well, that's easy to do though, because we can just hit the extrude tool, and you see it's doing it 25 millimeters in one direction only. Well, we're going to change that to 10, but we're also just going to do symmetric, and that'll just do 5 and 5 on each side. So hit symmetric, and you'll see that it's, let's look right at it. You see that there's our work plane. There's that right plane that we drew on, and it's symmetrically extruding it, 5 and 5 in each direction. That part's done. That part's all done. And now you just go add create a drawing, ANSI A, inch paper, bam, and you do the usual where you put the isometric in the upper right, shaded, front view, lower left. I hope I said upper right for ISO. Lower left for front view, and top view is good as it is. So this is going to be the front view, the most stable view, and this will be the isometric view, right? And then I click on this and I drag it up for the top view. Notice these are lined up with each other. That feature is exactly lined up with that feature. This one could be a little bit higher so I can get numbers underneath it easily. I don't want to move it off station here. Right, oops. Oh, I'm placing another picture. Got to get out of that tool. I can move this up a little bit like that. Okay, now I think to make this picture better, I'm going to go over here. I'm going to right click on this one, and I'm going to show shaded view. The other thing I'm going to do though is once that's shaded, it's very often the case that the ISO is a bigger view than the side views and front views and all that. So let's just look at the properties and see if we can make this look a little bit better. So that's 1 to 2. What if we just do 1 to 1? A little on the large side, but I still like it more. So I'm just going to replace it. I'm going to accept it. And I'm just going to drag it a little bit more onto the paper, like that. But that's good. And then I would use my dimension tool, and I would start telling the reader, how tall is this thing? The height goes to there, and it's that tall, so on and so forth. That's weird. It's reporting in inches, but I'm in millimeters. But you can change that right here. You can just go to here, see it's in inches here, and you can just change that to millimeters. And that's better. 75 millimeters tall, etc., etc. How big are the holes? Where are the holes? You will need another view for this one, right? We're going to have to do a side view because I don't see that hole in the drawings that will have sketches, that will have dimensions, right? So let's go insert, a view, and let's do sort of a right view or something like that. And let's put it right over here. It's a little bit crowded in there. Move this guy, get out of that insert tool. Maybe move this situation over here a little bit. That might be better, smaller. But you see now with this little drawing here, I can talk about that whole hole there. So I don't see that hole on either of these sketches. So I can't dimension it if I don't see it. Right, so that's why I had to add this view. Right? Sometimes we have to add another view, and this is one of those cases. What do we have here? Okay, so we are done with this. Just add your different dimensions. I don't know why this isn't lighting up for me. Oh, I unselected the tool. That's why. There. So you can go over here and start talking about the size of this hole. And remember, put the numbers on the inside. Again, that's reporting in inches, which is strange to me because I definitely changed the workspace units in the beginning. But those are millimeters. Change those to millimeters for me, please, because we drew in millimeters. I want to check your work in millimeters. I don't want to do 100 conversions as I grade these things. So make sure all your dimensions are in millimeters. Wherever you need dimensions, that's where you place them, right? So the length of this thing here, etc., the height of it. Oh, I have the height here. So on and so forth. That's enough of this. I'm going on to the third piece in a different video. Roger Dodger, over and out.